All right, so we're going to take a look at Math Counts 2021 Chapter Sprint Round 26 through 29, and I'm going to leave 30 for another day. All right, so question 26. The greatest of three non-negative integers is one more than twice the sum of the other two numbers. The arithmetic mean, so that's the average of the three integers, rounded to the nearest integer happens to also equal the median of the set. What is the product? So we need to multiply all three numbers together. What is the product of the three numbers? All right, so first thing it says that the greatest number is equal to 1 more than twice the sum of the other two numbers. So I'm going to say z is the largest number, and so I know z is going to be equal to 2 times x plus y plus 1. All right, I also know that the mean of the numbers is going to be x plus y plus z divided by 3, and I know that is going to equal approximately y. All right, but wait a second, I know z is this thing right here, so I'm going to substitute in that value for z. So we have 2x plus y plus 1. All right, well, 2 times x, 2 times y, so I get x plus y plus 2x plus 2y plus 1 is all over 3. Well, look at this. I have, as luck would have it, 3 x's and 3 y's, and I have this one thing left over. But that's okay, because we're rounding it to the nearest integer, so this extra piece here, we can just kind of get rid, not worry about it, right? So, because it says rounded, right? So right now I can divide both of these by 3, and I get x plus y is equal to y. X plus y has to equal y. Well, that means x has to be 0. And remember, I'm trying to multiply x times y times z. I don't have to know what y and z are because x is 0. If I multiply 0 times anything else, I just get 0. All right, suppose, this is when things got a little more challenging, I think. Suppose p of x is equal to the polynomial such as p of x is equal to p of 1 plus p of 2 times x plus x squared for all numbers x. We're to find p of 5. All right, well, the first thing I need to do is, well, I can't do this until I figure out what p of 1 and p of 2 is, because then, I have to, when I plug in 5, that goes in for my x's, but I still need to know what p of 1 and p of 2 is. All right, so that means that, well, let's find what p of 1 is. Let's plug in 1 for p. So this is equal to p of 1 plus p of 2 times 1 plus 1 squared. Okay, well, so that means we have p of 1 plus p of 2 plus 1. Oh, well, the only way for that to actually make sense is so we know that p of 2 has to equal -1. All right, great. So now let's move on. So this time let's plug in 2. Let's find p of 2. So p of 2. So we are going to go with, well, we don't know what p of 1 is, but we know that p of 2 is -1 plus -1 times 2 plus 2 squared. All right, so we have p of 1 minus, well, -1 times 2 is 2 plus 4. But wait a second, we know that p of 2 is -1, right? We found that over here. So, all right, so we have p of 1 is plus 2, it's equal to -1. So that means p of 1 has to equal -3. All right, So now I can just plug in what I know and find find P of 5. So for P of 5, we have, well, P of 1 is -3, plus P of 2 is -1, times 5 times 25, because that's 5 squared. All right, so we have -3 plus -5 plus 25. So we have, so that's -8. So 25 minus 8 is in fact 17. So P of 5 is 17. All right, 28 actually wasn't too bad either. So here we go. We know that this little symbol is going to be defined as the greatest integer less than, and that's important, less than or equal to n. What is the value of n if that little symbol times n is 3? Well, we know that that little symbol is going to be pretty close to 3, right? So we are looking at a situation where we have n times n is equal to 3. Well, that's n squared is equal to 3. So square root. And so I know that n is equal to plus or minus the square root of 3. And the square root of 3 is 1.7. So that means n, remember, has to be less than, right? So, so that means n is going to be a number. It has to be a decimal because we know that this is an integer. And we know that this integer is going to either be, well, if it either have to be 1 or it would have to be -2. But we know it can't be 1. Why do we know it can't be 1? Well, because n, that would make n 3. And we know that that can't be, right? So we know that this little symbol has to be -2, right? So we know that -2 times a number has to equal 3. Well, what's that number? Well, so that means n has to equal -3/2, and it says expressed as a decimal to the nearest tenth. So n is equal to -1.5. All right, and now the craziness really begins. All right, so here we go. I'm a little nervous for this one. So we have a square ABCD, and we know that this distance here is 6. And we know that this is 1 and this is 1, because the text tells us that. I'm just going ahead. And we're trying to find the area of that kite in the middle. Oh, that looks terrible. So what do I know about this? Well, I know that I have two diagonals. BD is a diagonal, AC is a diagonal. So that means that this point of intersection is right in the middle of the square. Pretend they meet in the middle. Okay, so now I have a coordinate grid. Now, if I have a coordinate grid, if I find the equations of lines, I can start finding points. So the first thing that I realize is, okay, I have two triangles. If I find the area of one triangle and multiply it by 2, then I know the area of the whole thing, which means I need to find this point here. Excuse the mice in the back of the room. And if I find this point here as well, then I can find the height and the height of the triangle and the altitude of the triangle, and then I can find my area. Multiply it by 2 because obviously I have two parts, right? So, all right. So I know that AC, line segment AC, has an equation of let's do this, y equals x, because I start at, well, so this is 2, this is 2, this is 3, this is 3. So this point right here is at -3, -3. This point here is at 3, 3. This is a slope of 1 with a y-intercept of 0. All right. So then the next thing I realize is this point here has to have a y, DC has to have a y-intercept of 1/2. And I know that because from here to here, it varied from this line, which has a slope of -1/2, or -1, by 1 full unit, which means halfway it would have a separation of half a unit. So I know the y-intercept is -2, so now it's just a matter of finding the slope. So the slope of this thing, all right, so I'm not looking for DC, I'm looking for DQ. Going to Dairy Queen. All right, so from here to here, all right, so I know the coordinates at this point here are going to be 3, -2. All right, so this is going to be -3, 3. So the difference in rise is 5, and it's going down, right? So we have a difference from 3 to -2 of going down by 5. I have a run of 6, so here's my equation. All right, so now to find out where the lines cross, I need the x value, really. So now all I have to do is create a system of equations. So I have x is equal to 1/2 minus 5/6x. All right, this isn't too bad. So then add 5/6 x to both sides plus 5/6x, which gives me 11/6 x is equal to 1/2. All right, so then let's divide by 11/6, right? So I get x is equal to, that's the same as multiplying by 6/11s. Cancel, cancel, so we get 3. So we get 3/22. All right. No. I get 3/11. Because 1 times, okay. So I get 3/11. So this point right here, this distance has to be 3/11. All right, so to find the area of and I know this has a height of 1/2. So to find the area of a triangle, it's base times height divided by 2. All right, but in this case, I don't have to divide by 2 because I needed the other side too, right? So I'm not even going to work out. So base times height. So I have 1/2 times 3/11, and that is 3/22, and that is the area of that region. Wow. Tricksy, tricksy, tricksy. Actually, that didn't take nearly as long as I was